show. I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone. If you never liked, subscribed, or follow us here on YouTube, definitely take the opportunity. Today, I'm going to talk about a couple things. One, this is going to be from the standpoint of my personal experience. So it's going to be subjective. I just tell you that up front. That way, you know. Again, whenever I'm allocating funds, I'm utilizing it for my personal account. So I'm not managing anyone else's money. I'm making the decisions based on what I have in my savings. But I had the opportunity to sit back and kind of think about it. And I said, most of us, if you actively are in the stock market, whether you're day trading, you swing trading, whether you have a financial advisor who each once a month or maybe twice every paycheck or or the frequency of your pay, basically, let me say that you have that money getting allocated, it's coming automatically withdraw. Maybe you are thinking about that. I want to go ahead and open up an account. Maybe these are what you're thinking, a broker's account, and then begin to manage my own money. There's some things you need to understand. And I've said this not just today, but other days as well. When you make the decision to make a move on the entire society, you say, well, wait a minute. He said, make a move on society. Yes. Whenever you choose to take the power away from anyone else and utilize your own strength of observing and learning, you become a threat to the entire society. Now, I'm not talking about anarchy. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm not talking about, breaking any type of civil rules, being against anything. I'm strictly having a conversation about this perspective. There's an entire industry that's already been maintained, that been created in order to manage your money on your behalf, because they will tell you that when it comes to you being able to operate on your own account, utilizing your own resources, making your own decisions, the emotions of the market are dangerous. You have FOMO, fear of missing out. You have drawdown. That meant you paid $10, the stock drops down to 5. If you have 100 shares, you paid 10. That means $1,000 was allocated from your amount of money that you saved, that you put in your broker's account. Now, all of a sudden, the price goes down to $5, which means I am down. I still have the cost of 1,000, but my account is now down to 500. So your market value is 500. That's considered very dangerous for an unskilled person. So how did I learn to deal with drawdown? How did I learn to look at the stock market from a standpoint the way I should look at it? Okay. How did I learn that? Was it something that I learned overnight? Was it something that took time in order for me to grasp the concepts? The reality is it was a process. It was a process that had to take place because I knew I was going into a lifetime marathon. Now, if you've watched any of my stock watch list programs, today I'm still just going through the research. As you can see, that's now 2 weeks. Some of the positions I had early in the year, some of the positions that what I meant by is on my watch list from early in the year, have now came to the point where they're coming back down in value. Uh, we expect another. Now, here's another thing. I kind of get my worldview right. The Fed's Powell is signaling, and I say signaling is that's me making assumptions. There are certain statements that a person makes that's in the Feds that would call signaling. They are signaling that they did a pause doing this actually during the second quarter, and then they were going to be increasing rates. So I'm going to go on the record and put my peppermint socks in my foot. I got peppermint socks on, so I'm going to put my foot in my mouth. I'm putting that out there now. This is very subjective, but we can expect, and I'm saying this, and I have no ability to be psychic, but I'm going to find out if I'm just a person who likes to assume and make a fool out of myself, or am I right again? Well, here's perspective. Powell signaling last when they did a pause that they were going to be raising rates going into the third and fourth quarter. Well, they already raised rates last month. The question is, will they raise rates one more time between now and the end of the year? I'm going to go on the record to say yes. That's right. Today, the August 16th, I'm going on the record to say yes. Here's two. I'm going to go on the record to say in 2024, they're going to raise rates at least 4 times. Now, you may say, how this is happening, where are you getting this from? Well, one thing about the media, is you can hear what they're saying, but just go to the Fed page. I mean, you can go right to the Fed, the Fed's page and read it for yourself. They're signaling that they expect to have a rate increase due to they keep talking about this soft landing. Remember, they said we've already been through it. So the reason that this show today is called titled the way it is, drawdown. Drawdown happens, and it's actually not a bad thing. It's only bad when you do not have the skills to make it a good thing. So how do we deal with drawdown? Part of drawdown is ask, and then let me just tell you what I had to learn early on. Early on, I had to make a decision. When I first of all, am I buying a stock for a long term? Now, let me give you my perspective of this. Long term means I plan on holding this stock anywhere between 1 to 36 months. That's my definition of long term. During that 1 to 36 months, there is positions and opportunities where I am looking at making an income over the course of 1 year, the second year, and the third year. Now, if I exit the trade, which means I completely sell out of my positions, that meant that during that process, I had already made the income that I had calculated that I wanted to make, and I found another stock that I don't have to deploy as much money as I had currently deployed in order for me to make the same kind of money. I mean, it's greater than less than no, okay, or greater than less than go. Well, drawdown is something that's going to happen on an account because when you actively involved on a month-to-month basis, even if you have a 401k, if you have an IRA, you should speak to your representative and ask them about. And you hear this term, dollar cost averaging, can happen whether account has had a rise in price, which means the price, let's say I bought it at 10, it went up to 15. So that's a $5 per share rise. And now all of a sudden it's down to 12, and then I buy it at 12, and then it drops down to $9.95, and it's down 5 cents from the $10 I first bought it at, but yet is even higher down from the 12 and is higher down from the 15. So this is what we call drawdown whenever the price capitulates or draws lower than the standard price of what I currently bought the shares at, or the average cost dollar average of the overall price. So the price trading at 10 when I originally bought it, now it's trading at 9. I'm down $1. Now that is hypothetical because the only reason you be down $1 on our essence on the drawdown situation is if you close the trades. And my goal is to not close any trade that I'm not forced to close, because there's an opportunity to do drawdown and then do an averaging in. Now, one of the other things I always do, if I look at a company and it comes to find out that there's a drawdown issue, and the drawdown issue can be any issue. It could be small, a couple of, under $100 down. It could be the next stage, which depending upon the size of your account, it could be 5,000 down, or it could be a large drawdown, 10 plus thousand, depending upon the size of your accounts. Now, large drawdowns means that, you basically much exceed 50% of the overall value of the account. If you have that situation, how do you work through the process on a stock that was on the watch list? Let me just walk you through my process. One, that's not a difficult thing to do. It's difficult at first if you've never been through the process of correcting a trade. So turning a trade that was a failure into a successful trade does take mental fortitude. And that's what makes the stock market a challenge. For most of the people that I have had the opportunity to talk to, they can't handle drawdown. Oh, well, the other thing is if I'm doing it long term, people say cut your losses. That's a day trade title. If you're day trading, um, if you're swing trading as well, then that whole thing has to do with there's a certain amount of money, because there is a $25,000 amount that must be always in your account at least market value or cash value has to be stay above 25,000 in order to do day trading. Swing trading is not, that requirement is not going to be there because you're not opening and closing the trade in the same day or during the same time the market is open. If you carry it overnight, it's not considered a day trade. So these are certain nuances that you have to be aware of, the vocabulary that goes along with it. The challenge that I had going early on was this. I had to understand that whatever platform that you're going to use, whatever platform, it doesn't matter if it's for your retirement, it doesn't matter if it's uh, a platform like, let's say, Robinhood, Interactive Brokers, E-Trade, if it's Now you have so many, to be quite honest. Even Square has a broker platform. You know, Cash App got a broker ad form. So there's so many. Let me just put it to that regards. If you're going to allocate funds that you have set aside in order to make income or to receive passive income or whatever your philosophy is that you set down to come to a determination, or from dealing with your advisor, and you just want to go and look at some of the positions online when you have a chance from looking at your overall portfolio and seeing how the current price trades. If you notice that you've seen some drawdown, there is a mathematical way that you can actually solve the problem for drawdown and know what will it cost you in order to bring your price right in line, either right at that price that it's currently trading at, or even at the price that it's trading at, or actually bringing it down and then going into profitability. Each one of those set of skills happens when you sit down in a position that you believe in. Now, I'm not referring to where you are using momentum and you using a scanner to see where everybody's running into, but you don't really know that much information, really particularly about that company. So what you're doing is using a mechanism to find a stock. Then once you find that stock, you listen in the chat rooms. You're not doing your own due diligence. You're just looking at the momentum of it all. Well, let me just give you a factor. Recently, have seen a drawdown in a certain position, and then having that drawdown in that certain position, and it's a stock. Having that drawdown, one of the things that I had to do was solve the mathematical equation of how much money do I need to employ, not only to buy more shares, but to take a drawdown and make it actually an average, the new average, and be putting myself in a position where I can exit that trade if I wanted to in profits. Well, one, you need to look at, well, let me just say this. Part one of this whole concept of idea generation, understanding when you're building a watch list, at least when I'm building a watch list, is knowing that I'm running a marathon. I'm not running a 100-yard or 60-yard dash. I'm never running a marathon. Now, you think, for example, if a person works on a job and they allocate funds consistently for 20 years, 5 years, any of those type of, for that mindset is not a short-term mindset. What is a long-term mindset, though, part of that decision to do it is deferring any income that you could make for that many years. I mean, the whole purpose of going to work is to generate income. The whole purpose of deploying resources to get an income. I mean, could you imagine people doing it? Don't get me wrong, because there's so many programs right now where you can use a Roth IRA to actually defer any payments to you turn 59 and a half. Well, for me, I'm not going to wait 20 to 25 years, let's say 30 years, to be in a situation where when I'm ready to retire, I've deferred all income into a later date. And now I'm going to get hit in the highest tax brackets with so many deferments that when I did have them, I just ignored. That doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to make as much money as I can as anyone else in America that runs big corporations. They make as much money as they can, and then they work through the process of taxes through what are available in the IRS code from their accountant that goes over and looks at their books and helps them run their P&Ls to make the best decision to defer or use incentives that the government is asking for employers to provide in order for them to be in a position where they can do this. Now, how do I take a bad position, regardless of how much money that I originally deployed and how much money is down? How do I take that position and then move to positive rain? One, you must understand that you're in a marathon. Most important thing is that you're going to be allocating, you'll be growing your wealth. In America, just to be very clear, in America, every debit, not credit, but every debit that goes through your bank account is a direct attack at your ability to have wealth. Wealth is an accumulation. So if you have a situation, as you can, most people understand the most basic principles. If I have $500 in savings and I add another $100 in savings, I actually grew my money by $100. So $600. I mean, I have 500 now. I got $600 total. I grew about $100. You're gonna take the $100 divided by the 500. It's gonna give you the percentage of how you grew your money. That's it. And to make a long story short, it's a little bit, basically 20% growth in your savings ability at that point. But that's not income. This is just your original principle. When I move money over to a broker's account, I'm always moving money over for income. One of the disadvantages that from the time I wake up to the time I leave out of my house, every store I go past is attacking my ability to create wealth. Remember, America is built on putting people in debt, which means if I put a person in debt and I go in debt myself, I become the asset. What is the reason that a person needs to make $100,000? Is so they can give up $100,000, not so they can keep it. I mean, most people are not getting. You get a $1,000 raise, and then you quickly go out and figure out what to finance or what to buy, and $1,000 go gone. That's not an increase in the wealth. That's you got now $1,000 you can draw into. The question is how much wealth is how much you keep and generate income from. And if you want to become wealthy, it starts with the mindset of wealthy. This is something you're going to hear no matter who you talk to. You can pick up any book, any author. Some of the most popular authors are going to tell you it's not about how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. Another one of the commentators is going to be if you're going to go into the stock market, you must understand it is the best place to be to get rid of all competition because the person who can actually hang in the stock market with all the noise that have nothing to do with the company. Case in point, today they're still talking about a soft landing. I thought we were past that in the first or second quarter of the year. They said, oh, the Fed's hike rates is now cooling, the market is. And then what did you hear? If you're actively managing your wealth, which means allocating your wealth and increasing your buying power. One of the first things when I'm building a watch list is I'm looking at what stocks will increase my buying power. Here's the clue: increase my buying power. It's not about that. It's not see, let's just say if you have 5 stocks in front of you, based on the amount of money that you have at your exposure to increase your wealth, which means increase your buying power. If you take that first approach, I'm buying stocks to increase my buying power. I use the dollar store a lot of times as an example. And if I'm just because here in Nebraska, there is actually not a tax on food. So if something in the dollar store is $1.25, it costs $1.25. We go back a year or 2 years ago, but I just say a year ago. But during COVID, not post COVID, but during COVID, you could have went in the dollar store and paid $1 and you could go buy $1 worth of goods. Today, you take $1 and it's only worth 75 cents because it's $1.25 at Dollar Tree. It still has the word Dollar Tree. It don't say $1.25 tree. It says Dollar Tree 125, which means you lost 25% of your buying power in a dollar. Period. So on top of the debt that we come in contact with, when you go into the stock market, you have to realize that I need to first, before I even think anything else, I need 25% return because I'm already at a 25% deficit if I walk into the dollar store. Candy bars went up. You remember those? My favorite candy bar has always been a Snickers, even though I'm allergic to peanuts. But it's always been a Snickers. However, have you noticed that the small Snickers that at one point was 50 cents, that's how I'll tell you how old I am, that went to being 89 cents for two. You get, you go get 2 of them, you get $1. It used to be $1.50 at this point. Now it's almost $5. I mean, the King bars used to be 2 for $3. Now it's 2 for $5. That's a decrease in buying power. Now you got to understand this. So when you're going through the process of thinking as a wealthy person, you must accept what's going on in our economy. So I got to get my worldview right. Here's my first part of my worldview. If I go into the dollar store, I lost 25%. $1 now is only worth 75 cents. If I'm going to buy milk, if I'm whatever I'm going to buy, there's going to be different buying power decreases. So when you have a drawdown, let me say this too. One, we now have an understanding that economically, when the federal government raised rates, we lost buying power. Anybody who's got a raise during COVID, they are actually only 5% away, according to statistics, of going back to what their pay was before they got the raises. And I'm referring to anyone whose raise was 25% or more. Now, currently, UPS got the largest raise in union history recently. So even though they went they're getting $30 over the next couple of years in their contract. a 30. I mean, that's a big for them. That's the biggest for any union. But everybody else who didn't get that, I don't care if they say your minimum wages and they went up to, you're talking about a tremendous. If you make $15 an hour, whether we like it or not, if that's what you make, let's say I make $15 an hour. Okay. I now make, just take $15 an hour times 25%. Literally just do that. You're going to see what I lost in buying power. It's not even 15 anymore. If I was making 12 and I got paid to be 15, I'm right back there at 12.50. I'm the raise is gone, guys. It's completely gone. Other cases, so the approach to looking at stocks is to increase my buying power through leveraging money. That is my ideology. One, I got to have a proper worldview. I know right now that my worldview is the feds will hike 5 more times before either Biden's reelected, which that's a whole different conversation, but it's not going to happen today, or a new president comes in. Either a Democratic candidate is reelected or a new Republican candidate is reelected. Whoever that person will become right now, Democratic, we know is Biden. But the reason that I point that out, because during Biden's administration, one of his policies is to reduce the buying power through the increasing of the rate. See, this is the most important thing you have to remember. They can always pause. They don't have to do it. It's a policy issue. It's not just what you think it is. Now you're going into the market, and let's take that same approach. You got $100. And I have $100. So I'm gonna use it from my perspective because it's safer. I'm not trying to. I'm informing, not advising anyone today. I'm just informing, not trying to advise you because I'm using my own funds. I don't manage anybody else's money from the standpoint. I only manage my own. So from this, I got $100. Automatically, I have $75. If it's in my regular bank account, if it's in my broker's account, my buying power is down by literally, if I'm going to go into consuming as a consumer, I only got $75. I don't have $100, especially if I go into the dollar store. I mean, I've never went shopping in a dollar store and spent $100 at one time. I have no idea what that looks like or what that cart looks like with all of those items. But what I do know is that I only got $75 if I go into the dollar store, not 100. Now, for us that's not paying attention to that, that means that when I'm paying debt currently, whether it's credit card or anything, I'm actually in a situation where I'm in a bad spot. Because when I spend $100, remember the dollar store is only 75. I'm using less money to pay my debt right now. And most Americans didn't get that memo. Every time they hike rates, that's the reason I got a broker's account. That's the real reason for it. I have a broker's account because the term itself means I get to negotiate what I want. If I go and I hire a financial advisor, he can't make me a promise on what it would do. He'll say, well, on average, the market does. I didn't ask what the market does average because the economy just told me I just lost 25%. So I'm even. So if I got a financial planner, he's saying, well, you're doing like 7% or 12%. Guys, he didn't help me get back to even. Every $100 that I give access to him is $75. And the only thing I get out of that, he gives me 7 or give me 12 when the economy itself, when everything is going up. How do I take this position and turn this failure? This is how you do it. First of all, I have to be, and I will, if you watched any of our shows before, don't forget to like and subscribe. You got to take the position of saying this. I have the ability to learn how to manage my own money. The same way you learn how to spend it all, you can learn how to keep it all. You are the king or queen of your own castle. Nobody else can do what you do because that's your gift. Your decisions are 100% the blessings for your lineage or the worst decisions you can make for it. With that being the notion, as soon as I pass it off to someone else, they're not obligated to meet the demand that I will need. So let me take any position that I can think of right now and kind of walk through it to kind of help you see how my idea generation. One is I know I'm dealing with a 25% reduction in my buying power if I go into the dollar store. However, grocery stores are up 28%. So now let's say I know I was only dealing with $75, but now I'm only dealing with $73 if I go grocery shopping. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the reason that the wealthy people continue to get wealthy, because they own the grocery stores. So that meant that extra. Now, let me just flip this for a second so you get an understanding and how important it is to have an account. For me, how important it is for me to have a broker's account, because having a broker account means I actually get to make more money than the average person makes. And number two, I get to actually also learn how to handle my impulsivity. When was the last time? And I had said this. I was talking to a young lady, Leela, yesterday, as a matter of fact, that I had the opportunity to meet down in old Mexico, or let's say young Mexico, or Mexico, which is pretty much South Omaha. And when I was down there talking with her, I had made this statement to her. You know, if it's better, if and this is important for ideology and also for to stop this irrational behavior. Think about in the world you are. If you're an adult right now and you go to work every day, and you have young kids that are between that's in, I'll say, third to about a third grade or higher, and they have the ability to do math, just addition and subtraction, maybe a little bit division, but if they can do basics, division, subtraction, that regards, or you can give them a calculator and they learn how to do that, the shortcut ways. Let me pose something to you. Give them your bank statement. Give them a yellow highlighter. Allow them to highlight all. See, we've never been trained this way, but I'm going to tell you, because in order to be, for me to, the stock market is dangerous if I don't have these disciplines. And I'm going to tell you what that discipline is: being able to see when I'm actually spending more money. And it's not just spending money, it means what I'm actually already at a loss. Because remember, if for every $100 right now, if I go into the dollar store, that's $75 I have. So I'm already down $25 in general. Doesn't matter if I go into the dollar store or not. If I go in the grocery store, that's 28%. So that means literally that's 28 bucks out of every $100 is gone. I mean, you're going to grocery shopping and you spend $500. That used to buy 5 times 28 more stuff. It wouldn't have been 500. You wouldn't have spent 5. You literally would have spent around 390, 380 to get around $500 worth of stuff. Today it's $500. How are you making that up? They're not giving to us in a raise. That was the reason for me coming to the decision to have a broker's account. It was one, to cover the difference, and two, was to make profit over that difference. So if you're in a situation and you buy a stock, the main thing is, for me, I look at a broker's account as leveraging my money. Whether a price rises or falls, it's all about leveraging to increase my buying power. That was one of the first radical things I had to learn. So when I saw a drawdown and I saw a stock that I own at $20 go to 15, or worse during COVID, where it went from 20 all the way down to like $5, and the emotion that a person would have, and this is it: unrealized gains is hypothetically not a loss unless you close it and make it realized. So the cost, the original amount of money you spent, is still there. And most people don't know how to make money on drawdowns. So let's have that conversation. When any stock that I hold in my portfolio that drops in value, that's unrealized and is hypothetical. Unrealized gains are hypothetical, means that unless I close it and make it realized, it's not an actual loss unless the position is closed. Now, if you're like me, I will hold a stock that has two characteristics to the day I croak. Literally, here's one characteristic. One, one, it needs to be in the NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange, period, for me. Two, or the FTSE 100, if you're going to be dealing with UK investing, because those are the primary, which have rules in place. So if anybody's going to be in a situation where they're not going to do something right as a CEO and not don't get the memo, they will at least have to file their quarterly reports, or they would actually get in trouble with the exchange they're being carried on. So the New York is the oldest, the NASDAQ is the youngest, and you got the American Stock Exchange. These are all exchanges that require you to file quarterly filing. So that's for one. I'm not thinking right now. I'll tell you, I don't buy anything off the P sheets. I don't do anything on OTC. In a current position where the inflation, you're losing $25 on every 100, or on every dollar is 75 cents. Or if you go in the grocery store, it's 28 cents on every dollar. You only use $73 out of 100. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, you're in a financial situation here. And even if you didn't know it, you're feeling it. And if you didn't know the math until I told you, now you know the math. So now you can feel it. And now you know what it is. So when you go and you're looking at a stock, you're saying, how can I increase my buying power? For one, I got to get back to $100 being 100. Leave it in the bank account's not going to do that. I'm telling you that right now, because as soon as you take it out and you use your card, and here's the thing, most people right now are paying credit card with less money. They increase their rates and using less money. That's an inflationary. Some credit cards were like 9 to 12%. Now they up in between 25 to 30%. Now, you know, goodness well that if you had a 12 or 9% rate and it jumped to be 18 to 25, and in the same time, you would have never applied for that card. You'd be like, oh, no. But when we're in a government inflationary increase, because inflation comes from Washington, D.C. So Isaac Newton said that. Go back, watch anything on YouTube, you see it. You'll notice, I mean, Milton, that's actually not Isaac Newton. He says a body in motion stays in motion. No, Milton Freud. That's what I should have said. Milton Freud. He was an economist. You can check him out. When you're in a position and you actually buying stock, you want to make sure that, like I said, I'm gonna hold it for life. As long as on NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, they're meeting their regulations and they're in a growing position. I hold it for life. I have no problem. Anybody who's been holding Buffett stock, Berkshire Hathaway, whether A or B, they've been holding it. They're lifers. They passed away and gave that stock over in their part of their will or their trust to their heirs. The parents started that million getting with Buffett. The kids now have the wealth of it. Some parents giving their kids Class B, Berkshire Hathaway Class B shares. Berkshire, sorry, it's not Berkshire Hathaway, it's Berkshire Hathaway. You know, they gave them the Class B shares. This is important. Amazon, you know, you might have been a one or your father was a bought the Amazon. These are lifers. Look at their wealth now. So it's about buying power increase. And that's the thing you got to get in your mind. Second, it's about increasing my buying power. It's about averaging in. And it's about making a profit. Income. That's the whole reason we go to work is for income. I don't, you know, back in the day, I used to ask myself, what is this whole thing about deferring income? I mean, if the whole goal is defer income, wouldn't everybody go to work and not take any paycheck until they turn 59 and a half? But the system would, how would you consume anything? Because that's not the system. But when it comes to building wealth, I've learned early on that even if I hire a financial planner, he gets paid, but I don't. Look at the irony in that statement. I won't go no further on that. But just say every quarter he gets a paycheck and I got to defer mine. I see the game. I see the business. I see the structure. I see what deferment really means. You get paid, I don't. And if I get paid, I get taxed. Well, how are you getting paid? You're not afraid of the taxes, but you're getting a paycheck. I'm not getting a paycheck. There it is. Industry, the economy. So I take it upon myself. I build a watch list to increase my buying power. 2, I have drawdown. Mathematically, there's 2 things you want to do when you have a drawdown issue. You want to know what it costs. Cost is very important. Cost is what it originally. So say I paid $1,000. Now the stock that I bought was 1,000. The market value is $500. Another person like, man, I lost 500. You didn't lose anything. That is called unrealized. You didn't lose nothing. You still got your cost being 1,000. You got unrealized that being 500. That's what it is for me. You read it. You call your broker's account. You call your representative. They'll tell you, oh no, you know, hang in there. It's going to rebound. That is probably one of the best advice they'll give you, as long as it's about doing this, increasing my buy power, making income. Because if I'm going to defer income and I'm not going to be able to bring my money back up to the current rate. So if it's down, if the economy right now is 12% on $1,000, then that means I got to go out here and got to cover that $12 difference. That's 88%. I mean, that's $88. That's 12% down. So now I have the situation where I'm going to look at the cost. So it cost me 1,000. The next time I buy, that's 1,500 because I have 1,000 originally. I now got 500. I'm going to take that 5, add it to the 1,000. That's 1,500. And let me just give you another caveat. I had 100 shares originally. So 100 shares cost $10 a share, which means I paid $1,000. Now I have $5 a share to buy 100. That's going to be $500. Total, 1,500. But now I'm going to take the 1,500 and I'm going to divide it by 200 shares, and I got my new average. That's how you mathematically figure out. And I sat down and just wrote the math out. I mean, I have math teachers I'm associated with, guys who got master's degrees, PhDs, and everything with math, and more math. Well, I wrote it down. That's 15. So I can mathematically figure out, well, if my now, so now that I did this, just think about it in your mind. I paid 10, now I paid 5. Well, your average, if you do it, is, you take 2 goes into 15. Let's figure it out here. That's going to be $7 and something cent, because we know that gets 2 times 7 is going to be 14. It's not going to be exactly 15. So I know my average is around 7. But the stock is trading at literally 5. It's letting me know how many $500 am I willing to deploy to get my buying power back up, and then to start going to the position. And the reason why I'm saying that is because people don't know how to do that, because they've never sat down and no one ever told them that you just look at the cost and then add in what the new shares would be and divide it by the total number of shares, and you get your answer. Are you willing now? Because see, once you know how to solve it, drawdown is easy. How do we take a failure where I bought a stock? Now, if you bought a stock and you didn't do your due diligence, yes, you can still take that same scenario for drawdown, but I'm going to highly suggest that you go hire a professional, because you're not doing the due diligence. At least they're going to tell you more about the company than you know, because I'm not going to buy anything I don't do my due diligence on, because I want to make sure this company is in compliance with the NASDAQ, is in compliance with the New York Stock Exchange. I only buy growth companies because I'm looking at increasing my buying power. At this point in the game, if you're just starting into the market, you want to go, you want to find as many resources where you can get information from so you can help. But let me just tell you right now, in the market today, I had the opportunity to see 3 things that made me smile. And one thing that made me like, man, this smile ain't gonna go all the way up to my eyes. And I'm gonna tell you what it was. Today in the market, for every $500 I had access to, I actually saw $5. So that meant I could have turned $5 into literally $10. So I would have had 1,000. If I had only had $500 in my broker's account, I would have $1,000 in my broker account immediately at entry. And I said, okay. I also saw if I had $600, I could take $600 and move my broker's account all the way to $1,500. So an extra $100, I can go to 15. So I'm dealing with a $25 deduction on every 100, and I can actually go get, for every 600, I can go get $9 for $9 on every one. That's why inflationary. Now, let me give you an idea of something else you got to think about. When we're in a bull market, prices are very high, and it costs more money. Now you make money because when we're in a bull market, it means that you've already been positioned. For everyone who was not in the market, or like myself, who didn't have a lot of money at the time of the last bull market start, during the presidency, during the presidency of the last 2 presidents, if you didn't have a lot of money in the market at the time when that bull market started, coming out of the Great Recession of 2008, and I'll go way back into 2000 to be honest with you. If you didn't have a lot of money to be leveraged in the market where you could increase your buying power and then watch people overpay. When a bull market comes into play, I want you to understand that bull market, the reason it's a bull, because people want to overpay. We just saw this in the housing. So let's do a correlation. When it comes to houses, people been in their houses 3 to 7 years. And prior to COVID, people were actually overpaying for houses above appraisal, which means you only get the money based on the house appraising. These houses wasn't even appraising. The house would have came in at 300,000. People was paying 380. You were like, wait a minute. If the house got burnt down, the insurance company is only going to give me 300,000 to fix it. I don't get my 80,000 back. People didn't care. That's FOMO in the real estate industry. Well, what's FOMO in the stock market? FOMO in the stock market is when I'm already positioned and so many people didn't understand how to deal with drawdown, didn't understand how to deal with buying, getting their buying, and using their cash to increase their buying power. They didn't understand about making income. Can you make income on a position that has drawdown, or another term is called capitulated? In case somebody said capitulation. Capitulation, all it means is the same thing as drawdown. You bought at 10, it's now trading at 5. You'll see that your cost is 1,000 because we're talking about 100 shares. So I would have paid $10 a share. That's $1,000 I would have deployed. It's now trading at 5. I have $1,000 in costs. I have 5,000. I have $1,000 in cost. That's what it cost me at $10 a share, $1,000. It's now trading at five. It means my market value is 500, and my cost is 1,000, and my drawdown or my capitulation is 500. So I have $500 hypothetically. If I closed, it would go. Don't close that because it's going to go. And I have $500 that hypothetically that's not going down because it was 1,000 originally, $10 a share. What ends up happening in that regards is it's time to now do part two. Part two is making income when an account is down on the same position as if it never was down. When you begin to go into the market, you would learn that there's opportunities to make money with the stock that went down to be five. Can I sell a stock that's $5 and somebody's willing to pay for $12 today? The answer is yes. Primo, you telling me that if I had a stock I paid $10 for and it capitulated or draw down from 10 to 5, where I originally cost me $1,000 for $10 a share of 100 shares, now it has done, on top of the inflation that we're dealing with today. We're dealing with an inflationary period. You see gas prices, you're losing buying power. You go to the gas pump, it might have cost you, let's say 2 years ago or a year ago, you might have been putting 38. Now you're putting 48, almost close to $50 in your gas tank, depending upon, especially if your car is 93, or even if your car is 87 or 85. You're putting more money, and you can see the difference. To fill your car up, it's costing $10 to $15 more. Now you see what inflation is. You lost buying power. Wealthy people who have gained skills, wealth is a byproduct of a set of skills that you deploy at times to increase your buying power. Now, you don't have to have money to increase your buying power. It's just understanding how to increase it makes you wealthy. That's the key. So if right now you're not able to have a broker's account like myself, which means you get to determine what your own rate is. The word broker doesn't mean go broke. It literally means you get to determine what your own rate is when you're interacting with the exchanges. That's right. When I'm interacting with any exchange, I can broker what I want to make. Now, that doesn't mean that the exchange is going to pay for it, but could I today buy a stock and had it for 60 days and it dropped down to five and still sell it for $12? The answer is yes. Mostly that's never taught, and it's never taught for two reasons. One is, if you were taught this, then most likely financial advisors wouldn't have a job because it'd be no need for a financial advisor. Two is, you would be more active when it comes to understanding your buying power. Because right now, most of us are trained from a position when it comes to just being consumers to destroy our buying power, which means we don't have wealth. And any wealth we do have, someone else is getting paid on it today as we're waiting to turn 59 and a half. With the new things that's regarding the IRS, you'll find, to be very important, you'll find this to be true. You'll find that the IRS is clearly communicating with you and me that you can wait till you're 72 and a half underneath the new rules before you have to start taking draws, which automatically pay taxes on any money. So now it's not just 59 and a half. It's, you can wait till you're 72 and a half, some even up to 74. That was also mentioned recently. I don't know if that was not, I need to talk to my accountant and to find out that was it 74, but I know 72 and a half was. So that means that that's even more time that I can allow someone to make money off my money. How can I put myself in a position to become wealthy? Let's take cash off the table for a second. It's right here. It's understanding what we learned in grade school: mathematics, addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. You may have to use percentages as well, but these are going to be your basic core values. So, how do I make profit? Well, let me just tell you, FOMO happens in down markets, because currently we're in a down market. There's no doubt about that. My opinion is this, and this is my opinion. I have the freedom of speech in certain areas, because if you talk about the alphabet click, they try to cancel you. But when you think about, so I have the opportunity right now to tell you some hard truths, and I'll show everybody who's a member these hard truths later tonight, because I'm going to do another thing for for everybody who have subscribed and really start to show them, because I have examples that I can go through, multiple examples to prove what I'm saying. I'm proving me, not proving you, because for me, I was able to do it. For you, you wasn't. So it doesn't gain anything, but it allows you to build confidence saying, okay, now I see. Because having idea generation, picking something, picking stocks, and then utilizing the information you have to show you make an income. For example, so let's say that I bought a stock, I paid $10. And for one, I'm going to buy 100 shares. If I cannot buy 100 shares, my goal is that month. It's a goal for that month. Worst case scenario, let me give worst case. Worst case scenario is over 2 months, I'm able to have 100 shares, because that means I could buy 600 shares over a 12-month period. But I would rather buy 100 shares over a 12-month period, because that's giving me more equity. 1,200 shares versus 600 shares. With that being said, we take the position to say that I've set aside $1,000 to increase my wealth. Wealth is defined by money that you have that is increasing your buying power. That's another thing. If you don't know what the definition of wealth is, you say, well, no, I have 500. Now I added another 100. Now I have 600. I'm wealthy. That's just savings, because all you did was use your money to actually increase your savings. Wealth is increasing your buying power and also generating profits without a reduction of that buying power. And most of the times that 100 wasn't profit. So that's just accumulation of you growing your what you call money that you have. You're growing it. If it was a business, it's called retained earnings. If it's not a business, you're doing this, you're talking about you're actually increasing your money under management. Yes, I have my own money under management. If I was to put a financial, and maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do a show where I go and I talk to a financial advisor and I ask them everything what I should do. I haven't done that in a while, and the reason is because I have a hard time sitting there without throwing up on them. Because everything they're going to tell me is about them getting a paycheck, not about me getting one. Because remember, if it's an IRA or it's a mutual fund, or I get deferments. I don't get a paycheck, and they getting one. So that's not going to be fair for me. In the position where I have $1,000 and I buy a position, and now that $1,000 gets moved down to $5 a share, I'm now looking at that I have $1,000 in cost, $500 market value, and negative $500 in hypothetical losses unless I close the position, and now I got a realized loss. I would have to sell 50% of my shares, take that loss at 5 or 100%. Now I have $500 left. This is what we call 90% of people lose 90% of money the first 90 days, or that's called the 90-90-90 rule. The 90-90-90 rule. Or the other thing you could look at is that I actually took the opportunity to invest into a company that truly I didn't have a long-term view on. But if I did, then it going down to 5 allows me to do dollar cost averaging. Means, okay, when I bought before, we were doing a time of a bull market. Now we're in a bear market. So prices are coming down. This is the only market where you see the tremendous amounts of jump in wealth when the market goes back to a bull. A bear stands up. So think about when a bear is ready to fight another bear, they stand up on their hind legs and then they come down and go at each other. Down. Let me tell you what that means. It means it brings prices down to the amount of money I have access to. I need that. I need the market to continue for the price points and the price of shares to come down. I need all the negative news. For a lot of you, like, I don't want any negative news. I want my price to rise. We're talking about increasing buying power right now. That is why wealthy people are wealthy. They have tremendous buying power, where $100 during a bull market is worth $1,000. Well, that means that's 1,000% return that they can go out and buy something. When $100 can start covering rent payments, you're now on the verge of knowing you're in the wealth category. When $50 can cover rent payments, you know you in the wealth. When 1 cent can cover rent payments from decisions you made in the past, you're wealthy. You're wealthy when 1 cent, because that's what the reality is. Mathematically speaking, if you get 1,000% return, you at that particular point where 1 cent is generating hundreds of dollars, or maybe $10 or $5 each, but 5 times whatever a penny was. And that's the key. That's wealth. That's what the whole goal of having an account and managing your money under you to do, is to do that reality. Is it easy to do? No, it's not. Let me tell you that right now. How come? because there's so much information that you can easily have an irrational behavior. It is so much garbage. Everybody has an opinion. Recently, one of the stocks that I hold in my portfolio, Credit Suisse, came out. Credit Suisse is the same company over in the UK that needed a bailout from Chase Bank, and it was Chase, and it might have been Wells Fargo that bailed them out. Now, how is it that Credit Suisse, who needed to bail out a bank who did not have the right reserves, how are they actually telling another company that they're in a position where they price get declined? I love the fact of analysts coming out and giving reports and positions that, when you think about these positions, you're in a position that you could say to yourself, you know what? Let me say this. How can you grow your wealth when growing your wealth makes you nervous? I'm going to tell you why. Every last one of us done been brainwashed. Our definition of wealth is based on buying leverage of wealthy people. See, let me just give you this right now, and this is what got me in the stock market. And says I can't leave the stock market. Well, stock market is a long-term thing. I can't leave the stock market because I work. But as far as the stock market will always play a part in my life, and it brings up certain part of my income. My goal has always been to have the stock market being the major generation of my wealth. And then what I do for labor-wise, make up the smaller portion, but what I do in the market, managing my own money, make up the larger portion of my income come in. But I want to point out this because I think it's important incentive to understand. I included have came from a life that the reason that I got raised is because I wanted to actually buy another item. I'm just going to be honest. That's the way that I thought the market worked. I was going to get a job so I can buy a car. I was going to get a job so I can get an apartment. I was going to get a job so I can have a car and an apartment, or actually I got a job first time so I can get a pager. You guys think about that. It wasn't even a cell phone. It was a pager. Just so somebody I can run to a phone booth and put quarters in it so I could call somebody, was just to get a pager. That was my motivation for working as a young kid. I wanted to have a pager like the doctors on TV and like all the important business people. Having a pager meant you was in the in crowd. Wasn't holding a coffee cup like Starbucks. It wasn't going to Chipotle's. It wasn't doing any of those things. It wasn't wearing any particular clothes, whether it was Ralph. Well, I guess I'm old enough to say Nautica. I'm old enough to say Ralph Lauren or Hilfiger. I'm old enough to say those things back then. Ed Hardy. So I'm old enough to say that. But to me, it was a pager. That's what it was. It was a pager. Motivation for a young kid to be able to go out and get a pager and pay a monthly fee to get beat. You couldn't talk to nobody, but they can at least who was trying to tell you to call them, because they'll put their number in it for them to call you. Then we got to the point where young kids got creative and they were putting little messages in them, and we knew who it was, and little jokes. That was the idea of it all. What did I learn? I learned that I didn't have the ability to save a lot of money. Majority of my money, I lived from check to check. Which means I was the leverage for wealthy people's stuff. They didn't want this stuff. They were selling it to me. I was the idiot buying all that stuff. And I thought that gave me some type of wealth. It actually didn't. It destroyed my wealth. Right now, if you're living from paycheck to paycheck, I understand. I've been there. I've been there more times than I like to openly confess. If you're living there right now and you don't have a broker's account, but you're trying to figure out about stocks, or you have money in the stock market and it was your money so that you can actually grow your wealth, and then you had a drawdown issue, been there, done that. I've seen that. But when it comes to the market for what it is, let me give you another part of the insight that can help you out. The money you save should be any way you have it. The money you save, just like the money I save, has two components. One, it should increase my buying power and stay above the current level of a dollar. So if a dollar's a dollar, I want $1.25. I want to spend 75 cents to get $1 worth of goods. If a dollar's a dollar, I want it to be $1.50. I want to spend 50 cents to get $1 goods. If a dollar's a dollar, I want to make $2. Wait a minute. What does that mean? That means nothing makes $2. Well, that's not necessarily. That meant that $1 at one point generated $2. So now, if I spend $1, I keep my money. Let me keep going. Well, if I have $1 and $1's a dollar, then I want $1 to be generating $5. That's right. I want to buy $1 is going to buy 5 things for me. That's increasing your buying power. And that's what the stock market has been for. And I think what makes it interesting is that people who are looking to be wealthy, they actually think it's accumulating stuff. No, it's paying way less for it. So it's almost like when I hear people saying, "Oh, I got a lot of stuff, but I got it for cheap, so I didn't spend that much money." That's what wealthy people are saying too. I just want you to know that wealthy people are saying the same thing. Yes, it's nice. I didn't spend that much money. You be like, yeah, but you paid $1 million. Oh, okay. I'm gonna let you think that it was only 250,000. 750,000 came from my buying power. Hmm? That's how you spend $1 million, not how people spend $1 million. They go out and they generate $1 million, and then they spend $1 million. That's not what the wealthy people are doing. They're using 250 and using 750,000 in buying power increase, but they only spent 250K, guys. That's the secret of a broker's account. Number three, the other thing that I think is important is to understand that while my buying power is increasing, I'm going to double that. I'm a double X. I can tell you from experience, and that experience came with some beatings all up in the head. People say, one of the reasons I tell people that I was able to have my good shiny globe head right here that's shining with no grease on it, just straight washing, nothing. How did I get that? The power of stressing myself out. Stressing myself out so bad that I sucked the blood from my hair follicles. I was out. It's the same thing that Jelly Pickett has. Will Smith, don't hit me. Okay, same thing Jelly Pickett had. I got. And the thing that's interesting is that as I deal with increasing my buying power, this has been the best time. Now, when you take it from a standpoint of everything else going on that's colliding in from the economy, this could be the worst time for many of you. But I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you because we need it. We got to encourage one another. $500, let me say $600. If you have $600, my career in growing my buying power started off with $25. I was getting paid every week. That grew to me being able to save through increasing. So $25 grew to 25,000. Now you would say, well, you had 25,000. That's how many $25 every 2 weeks you did? No. It started off me just using $100. I mean, if you think of 52 weeks, you could take $25 and do 52 weeks. You see where the math started at. Before I even got to 13,000 being able to accumulate by me keeping that. So I'll tell you this so that you can really see this from a standpoint of what we've done to ourselves and how we've destroyed ourselves overall. In general, that we can't actually do wealthy things, which means put money aside to increase our buying power. And as we increase our buying power, then from there, we also make income. And then that income, that's interest we use to buy stuff. It's a lack of patience. Impulsivity plays a big role. It's the internal competing. These are the beatings you have to go through to say, I'm not going to compete with anybody. I'm going to take my $600 and I'm going to set this $600 into my account and I'm going to increase the buying power of this $600 because I already know I lost $125. So $600 literally is not $600 sitting in the bank account. And if you have $600 sitting in your bank account, it's not 600 in buying power. It's 600 in cost, but you have a drawdown. There's the key. I'm gonna say it again. It's $600 in cost, but you have a drawdown of $1.20, $125 down. So that means you're literally sitting there with $475, but on your bank statement it says 600, but you can only buy $475 worth of goods. That is the same thing I deal with in the market. The only difference is my local bank account that I have does not allow me to increase that to $725 so that I still have 600 because the bank fees are fixed. They tell me this is what, matter of fact, if you check your bank account, it's in your checking account, you're not getting anything. If it's in your saving or money market, you're getting some crumbs. It's better than nothing by having it sitting in savings, but I still have a deficit. Just like the economy is in deficit, you got a deficit of 125. So having $600 sitting in that bank account, you only got $475 you can spend with. Now you may say to yourself, "No, I can go get $600 worth of goods." I'm going to tell you that if you go to the dollar store, you don't, you only got $475 worth of goods because you got a drawdown, and that's painful, and that's what nobody want to pay attention to. But that's why I got a broker's account, because I'm about to broker a deal, and I want that 25% back. And if I get that 25% back, I need to make income on top of that. So let's put the last thing into perspective, because hopefully right now I'm giving you a lot of information, because as I'm just going through the process, I haven't found a stock that's based on what I have available to do, rather in automobiles or in pharmaceutical. Well, and I say automobile, I say renewable energy. That's really what I'm finding, something that is green, a green company that's what I can afford to buy or what I'm willing to deploy. Well, it's really afford to buy, because if I don't have it, I can't deploy it, right? Second, a pharmaceutical company that is making medication that's not going to kill me, that I can actually invest in, that's affordable. A lot of them are overpriced. A lot of them are early on in their early trials, and I haven't found one yet that's based on what I have access to. I mean, my old watch list is still a gold mine today, a gold mine, all the way back from February 1st. It's still a gold mine. Some of those positions have, capitulated down or rose up and come back, and it makes sense to go back in those. But I'm forcing myself to constantly have idea generation, not get stuck thinking that these are the only stock, because it's not true. It's thousands of stock in the stock market that fit the criteria, hundreds of stocks really that fit the criteria of what I have. I have the ones that I really like, and I have ones I just don't like, and the ones I really like work, and they've worked, and they're good, and they still good. But if you're going to take the position of growing your buying power, you must also take the position of learning how to stay. Now, I'm going to make this statement, and it's subjective. I'll be honest with you, it's subjective. I'd never tell any of my friends who can't be committed to a relationship to actually open a broker's account. I never tell any of my friends to even do anything that I'm doing, because they have a commitment issue, which means they don't do very well in following through. I'm committed to this, because and I'll make it simple. If I make $10,000 a year, and out of $10,000, I'm a young kid, I make $10,000 a year, and I'm in high school, just so I can get a $6,000 car and put gas in it, you automatically know I don't have any wealth, because there's a responsibility of a vehicle where it got tires, oil changes, tune-ups, any repairs is used. And buying a used car that already have went through the process of being fully lubricated up, and it's now going through the parts and need replacement parts. So those are things you have to remember. How much I maybe save? $2,000. Well, this is where I built my wealth from. I built my wealth from $2,000. How long did it take me to do 2,000? Was that 6 months? Or let's say a whole year? That's my rationale. I have an issue with the way I'm thinking, because when I get money, it automatically means it has to go to another person so I can make them wealthy. And what is in exchange? What is the value proposition that I'm getting? An item that actually takes my buying power away from me. I mean, we all know it. If you go to any outlet, so you go to department stores in the mall, and you bought a shirt, or you bought a pair of pants, or you bought a pair of sneakers, and you wait 6 months or 7 months, you go back, you see that, and your facial expression is like, oh, pride, we're like, yeah, I paid $70 for that shirt. I paid $70. It's now on sale for $18. Did you catch what I just said? 18. Let me make it sound better. $30. So that means you just happily, I mean, it's a $30 shirt that you pay 70. That's drawdown. That's capitulation. As soon as I take the cash, it's already. So now if I spent 70, you just take 25% of that 70. So you got to, and then take that 25%, add it to the 70. What does that tell me? Well, we know, 10 and 10 is going to be 20% will be literally $14. And if we take another 3.5, so in layman's terms, that's $17.50. So at $17.50, that tells me, I mean, just in general, $17.50. We added to it, that's $87 that this shirt cost me. That's the buying power at this point. That's $17.50 more I'm going to pay. Now it's at 30. But is it really 30? if we dealing with the same situation and we dealing with the shirt itself, you would say it came down in price, but we're still in an inflationary period. See, the discount that you see is still doing an inflationary period. That shirt is more than $30. Let's just do the same math again. If we're dealing with a 25% situation, we're gonna do the math again on $30. That's gonna be six. That's gonna be $1.50. That's $7.50. So on 30, that's $37.50 you pay. That literally is cost you to buy that shirt, even though you see in 30. That's really, I mean, you literally got to say that that's that's really what's taking place. Yeah, it was 30, but no, it's literally it's taking you $37.50. So we take that, it's costing you more to buy that shirt. And the whole time we spending, we just getting paid and spending this money. And it's like, where all the money's going? And that's where it's going. It's costing more of your dollars for something that has less value. So the broker's account for me allows me to go out and gain that value back and only utilize spending the interest. Now, from starting from day one, I just want to just tell you that, this video is long. It's an hour. My intent wasn't, I could be long-winded. If you've been on the show before, if you see me in person, I can talk. That's probably why I make a good YouTuber, because I can talk. But I also put action to it, which means I walk through that process. I'm constantly thinking. There is discretionary spending and there's non-discretionary spending. I said earlier in the video, take a highlighter. If you got young kids, tell them this. Your allowance is going to come from you highlighting all the non-discretionary spending. And then give them another statement from the month before. Discretionary, a different color highlighter. And then give them 10% of all the discretionary spending that you did that destroy the wealth that they should be receiving when they're ready to move out of your house. Just give it to them now. Because the reason we can't give generational wealth away is because we were never disciplined to train them. So train your kids, train your nieces and nephews. Take a real bank statement. Oh, that's private. That's why they can't manage money. That's why they can't run a broker's account. Because you think it's private. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that you're not going to be. If all you can give somebody is an insurance money when you die, that's what you're good for. Well, you might as well go and pay top dollar and pay $2 million or $3 million. It's 3 kids, give each one of us $1 million. And then we're going to adjust this for inflation. So that means you need to do $2 million, $6 million of insurance, because there's no way you're going to be able to do that in your lifetime and just give it to me, because you don't have the ability to grow wealth. So now with insurance is being cheaper, make your kids millionaires when you die. At least they got something other than they don't know how to stop themselves. Well, a broker's account would teach you that. So that's a discipline. That's a secret tip in there. Learn to take a highlighter and look at it. Say, you know what? And then take the 25%. Says, man, this is why it costs so much. I could take 25% and break it down and say, man, I am just giving money away. This discretionary spending that I'm doing versus non-discretionary. Non-discretionary is not up for question. If you got a car, you got to pay the car payment. If you choosing a credit card is discretionary. Non-discretionary is paying rent, paying a life insurance policy. That's things you got to do. Health insurance policy, paying your taxes, just things you got to do. But if you want to do very good in the market, you're going to be able to have to increase your buying power. I said a lot of things because in order to be effective on the market, you also have to have each one of these skills that I'm talking about. Just thinking you're going to walk into the stock market, which is very dangerous. The stock market is designed that of people who are not licensed, people who are not have degrees in finance and stuff. It is literally designed to make the financial market, which we call financial planners market, legitimate. I'm just gonna be honest. It's just the regular stock market, a retail trader makes the legitimacy of financial planners cemented, because as soon as you're going in, you blow up your account. What does blow up your account means? It means I paid $10 a share, have $1,000 I put in my account. So I have 1,000. I went out and bought $10 a share, 100. So my cost is $1,000 on at $10 a share, and then that stock drops down to $1. I didn't know a lot about the company. I heard it from a chat room or a friend. I was doing a scanner and I saw that things were, everybody was jumping into this stock. I got caught in the motion of FOMO. It was going to the moon and it went to the floor. and you close that. That's called blowing your account up. That means you took $900, and instead of increasing your buying power, you just gave it to the market. That's what the market's there for. That's the reason that a TD, a E-Trade, a Robinhood exists. They actually trade against you. One of the greatest lessons I had to learn was beat the exchange that the platform I'm using to trade on. You gotta beat them and take their money. If you want to say you beating somebody, don't try to beat the market. The market is subjective. It can be any, beat the platform that you trade on. Beat them, destroy them. Make it to the point that if they ever allow someone to short your stock that you holding equity, they pay for it. I'm a guy of competition. I'm a guy of ruthlessness when it comes to taking money from the exchanges or the trading platform that I'm using. If somebody shorts me and I ever see that I get because you get a regular dividend, or you'll see the term, which went, I lost it. What the term is actually called, but the term is, what is the term when you get substitute? If you get a substitute dividend, oh, that just makes my smile go, boy, this gonna sound wrong, but in the Passion of Christ, there's a little baby that walked through, and Satan's being carried by it. And that little baby is a little demon. That's that smile I put on my face, like, oh, they think that I'm not in this for the long term. Boy, I go hard. Well, today, since I didn't have the stock market, I wanted to give you some idea generation. I talked about a lot of areas. I talked about averaging in. First of all, drawdown. Drawdown is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's only bad because you look at it the wrong way. If you bought at 10 and you like the company, it's now trading at 5. You have an opportunity to do dollar cost averaging, and you have also the opportunity to break a stock that your cost originally was at 10 down to $7.50. Now, if you are not managing your own money, I'm not going to manage it for you. I would highly suggest that you hire a professional. Pay him a paycheck until you get to the point where you get tired of paying him and him not paying you. And then you'll learn all the skills that I have gained in my lifetime by doing this. Because I was a professional, paid a financial advisor, 1 to 2% of my overall portfolio, plus fees every time he took money, or in order for him to get a check, and for his family, for him to feed his family, and my family got nothing other than the firm. I remember I think it was called Massachusetts Growth Stock Fund. It was A.L. Moody. When I first got into learning about the market in general, and they teach you all the salesmanship, which is the rule of 72. You take whatever percentage return that they say the average is, and let me just tell you this, guys. And it's not to you manage your own money that you actually can say what your return is. If I don't want to get less than 20%, I don't take less than 20%. If I want to take 2%, I take 2. If I want 57%, that's what I ask the market for. That's the benefit of having a broker's account. Broker's account is not going broke unless you use it the wrong way, then it makes sense. But it's brokering the rate of return that you want when you want it on the money you have allocated. And you have to worry about drawdown. Drawdown is important, but cost of dollar averaging, and then learning the mathematical equation of every time I add in, how does that play out? I can tell you this, and I mean this, guys. If you're willing to become the leader of your lineage and go into the stock market or go into business, and you're willing to learn basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, you're willing to learn cost. This is what it cost me. One of the things I always see is a lot of businesses, they have a cost and they continue to add more money in a way that doesn't increase their buying power. Because from the increase of your buying power, also the increase of your wealth. We want to turn $1 into 10, where this item costs 10. I want to use $1 to buy it, though. That's wealth. That's really what wealth is. And the word wealthy is having multiple dollars, that's $10 value, or multiple $1 bills, that's $100 value. That when you can spend when you can spend 5 actual dollars, and I'm gonna project this out forward, in 2023, $5 increased buying power, that is for every $1 bill is now 50. Well, you can automatically know that if we use 50, and that's what that $1 was, and there's 5 here, and we take 50, and you take 50 times 5, you automatically know what you're going to have. $250. So now $50 can buy $250. That's wealth. That's what wealth truly is. Everyone else thinks wealth is clothes. They think, and that's not wealth. That's leverage for wealthy people. So it's a form of wealth, but not for you. Going out and spending $700 on a purse is $700 that you paid for the person who owns stock in the company. And if it's just owned by a group of guys, but the last time I checked, Coach is owned by a corporation. They're the same ones that bought out Kate Spades. And with that being said, the realistic standpoint is you don't own the company, but you go and buy the purse. Okay. So you like to buy the leverage of the wealthy people or be leveraged for wealthy people. That's what you work for. So you can show you got a Coach bag, Versace. I won't even say, Balenciaga, whatever you say that name. I've never, did I tell you, I don't know how to say the names. I don't buy it. And you guys can laugh at me behind the screen, but here's a factor that we need to take in consideration. None of us can afford to ignore this anymore. If you're an adult, you're a teenager, you're a child, grow your wealth every paycheck. Increase your buying power every paycheck. When you do spend $25, it only costs you $2 to $3 of it. It didn't cost you whole 25. Our principle that we retain, every time we get money, it doesn't mean we have to consume it. Grow it. If your mind state tells you that if you view money as leverage to buy something, you're never going to be wealthy because you don't have the right mindset for it. If you view money as the first product, you're going to be wealthy. Because if you need to convert it into a mouse to make money, you fundamentally failing in life because they're going to replace this. And 2 years from now, I'm not going to be able to sell this mouse. Even if I trade it back in an Apple for a new Apple mouse, I'm never going to get that money back. And a lot of us are never getting that money back. I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to like, share the video. It's a little different video. I took it from a different perspective. I hope you would appreciate that perspective versus me kind of rattling on. I could have made the video 20 minutes, but without showing you visually, and that's what I want to show to everybody else, without showing visually, it causes a problem because everybody's skeptical. I call everybody lawyers. Lawyers are trained to think negative. And I said it. Lawyers are trained to think negative. If they have something positive to think, it's only because it came out their brain. But if it came out anybody else's brain, it's not it's not positive because so that's the training of it, And unfortunately, very few lawyers make good entrepreneurs just for that reason, because they're always trained that they're skeptics. It works well in their field, but it doesn't work well in the life plan. And I'm not saying that to be mean or rude. I'm saying that because I pay a lot of lawyers, and that's exactly what they are. I would never go to business with them, and that's just my personal opinion. I got a right to it, and if they watching it, I said it. It's not a personal thing. It's just observational facts. Until next time, I hope you guys will go back and you look at some of the previous videos, look at what I talked about. I'm revealing one of the greatest things is when you put yourself out there, you're going to take judgment. Give me all the judgment. I'll take I think the slang term now that I heard my teenage son saying, I'll take all the smoke. Back in the day it was called shine. Before that, when New Jack City was out, that I had saw when I was in college from my roommate, he was his name was Alan. He said, "You need to see this movie called New Jack City." And I was sitting there watching an old Spanish cartoon, and he was like, "You need to watch New Jack City, New Jack City." So I watched it. Tupac was alive. That's when I actually, most people, that's when I got introduced to Tupac from actually New Jack City. And then I watched that movie with Janet Jackson. But in the process of watching those things, what I learned was this. In our lifetime, we'll have a lot of clothes that we'll outgrow, we have to throw away, and that's cash being thrown in the trash. But wealth, we didn't spend a lifetime doing it. But we will accumulate a lot of stuff, but wealth would not be it. And the whole Monday and Wednesday show here at CFS Studio is truly about wealth from the aspect of the way that the US economy is designed, that you have to be the one that receives, you have to put people in debt in order to be wealthy in this country. In America, it's based on how much debt you hold against somebody. So the more debt that credit card companies, store cards, or any finance company has you, that's why they're big wealthy. Most of us ain't get that memo. And this show is about getting that memo. You guys have a great and wonderful, powerful day.